You've been watching images of the Apple's flagship store in Manhattan opening its doors as the iPhone 17 and other products go on sale. And our man, Steve Kovac, is on the ground right there. He joins us now. Good morning.
Hey, Andrew. Yeah, we're watching Tim Cook, and that's his colleague, Deirdre O'Brien, next to him. She's the head of retail, welcoming those first customers in. Those are the people who pre-ordered and got their spot in line. I was talking to many of them, and I want to bounce on what Gene Munster was just saying. I talked to the first dozen or so people in line. They are all buying the Pro, not the Air. They're really into the Pro. That's a really good sign for Apple as far as demand at the higher end. There was a price increase on those higher end Pros this year, so that is good for the average selling price of the phone. And as Gene was also saying, the early demand signals in China and the United States are pretty strong. When I was here a year ago, it was the complete opposite. It was the Apple Intelligence launch along with this phone. There wasn't that much excitement about it, but it just goes to show when you have new designs and get back to cool hardware and back to the basics of what Apple's good at, you can really drive that demand. Now, we're having some issues over in China, as Gene alluded to. That Air still has some regulatory approval to go through. Also, we're looking at some more data that's going to come in over the weekend. We're going to be looking at the true sales data, the number of people standing in line, and get a much better gauge of demand. I'll also point out something really stuck out to me in that interview our Jim Cramer did with Tim Cook just a few minutes ago. He said those price increases have nothing to do with tariffs. That was a very interesting comment from him. I thought whether or not you think that's true or how much it's true, the fact that they're still able to show up and get this kind of demand out there despite those price increases, despite the tariff hangover, despite being behind in AI, it just shows that making those cool new designs is enough to drive demand. And by the way, there's a Nikkei report that came out this week, guys, that really stuck out to me. They said this is just the beginning of an iPhone growth cycle. Apple, in fact, is expecting 10% growth in the iPhone next year. That's due to a foldable device. And then beyond that, believe it or not, in 2027, the iPhone turns 20 and a brand new design there, guys. I'll send it back over to you.
Steve, this, by the way, we're all watching as you're speaking. I mean, this is like watching, people get in line to meet Taylor Swift. I don't know if Tim Cook's ever been compared to Taylor Swift before, but it's sort of a remarkable thing to see a CEO just so beloved. I mean, he's signing, I don't know if you saw it before, he was actually signing the back of a phone just a moment ago.
Yeah, and taking selfies. There's this gentleman in line here, I'm totally blanking on his name, but I see him here every year. In fact, we just saw him on screen, wears an orange shirt. He is the quintessential Apple fanboy. He's not here because it's hard to get the phone. He wants that selfie with Tim Cook every year. He wants to be among the first people in line. So you're exactly right. And by the way, the crowd, the energy here is like 10 times what it was this time last year. I can barely hear myself speak. There's singing, there's dancing. It's actually pretty wild here. I haven't seen an iPhone launch like this in the last several years, guys.